Welcome to Nach Simanim. I'm Jacob Thomas, and today we will be learning Shmuel Bet perek Hey. We begin this perek with the reunification at Hebron. After years of civil war and after last perek, where Ishbosheth died, all the tribes of Israel travel to Hebron and declare to David, "We are your own flesh and blood," and they remind David that Hashem chose him to be the king over all of Israel, Bnei Israel. David makes a covenant before Hashem, and at the age of 30, he is anointed before the entire people, marking the start of his 40-year reign and a golden era for the Jewish people. David's first act as king is to make a unified capital. He marches to Yerushalayim, it was held by the Yevusi. The Yevusi mock him, but David's men capture the fortress through a water shaft, and David settles in the stronghold, and it is renamed Ir David. Now, Hiram, who's the king of Tzor, recognizes David's greatness and how he has established his authority. So he decides to send cedar trees, which are known as being the best, because Tzor is known to have the best cedar trees. He sends carpenters and masons to help David build his royal palace in Yerushalayim. David realizes that it is God who has firmly established him as the king over all of Bnei Israel in the capital. And David continues to grow his household, and many more children are born to the royal line. Now, when the Plishtim hear that David is king, they decide to attack. And David asks God if he will defeat, and then defeats them in Baal Peratzim. In a second attack, they come again, and Hashem gives David a specific sign, that he should wait until he hears the sounds of marching in the top of the mulberry tree. David obeys, and when he hears it, he goes, he attacks, and he wins. As a recap, we have the unity of all the tribes, where everyone anoints David in Hebron. We have the conquest of Zion, of Yerushalayim, from the Yevusim, and where David makes it his capital. We have the construction of the palace, where King Hiram of Tzor sends cedar woods and carpenters to help David. And we have the victory over the Plishtim at Baal Peratzim, where David wins twice through Hashem's guidance and miracles. We are in perek Hey, so just like Zichru, we use a stack of hay. The stack of hay becomes king over all of Israel. So we have this stack of hay that reminds us we're in perek Hey, a stack of hay. And he becomes king over all of Israel, which reminds us how after Ishbosheth died, David becomes king. And his first act as king is to take over Yerushalayim, Ir Kodesh. He takes it over. King Hiram sees his greatness, sends him wood and carpenter so he can build his palace in this new area. And then he, as king over all of Israel, has to defend them from the Plishtim, and has a great miracle. We're going to now do a 4-perek back Chazara, starting with perek Aleph. As tears come out of the olive tree, he tears his garments over the death of Shaul. So we have the tears come out of the olive tree. That reminds us we're in perek Aleph. And he tears his garments over the death of Shaul, which reminds us how Ger Amalek, the son of a Ger Amalek, he told David Amelech how Shaul HaMelech had died, and David is completely and utterly sad over the death of God's anointed. Now, perek Beis, in which we use a house. A split begins between the house of David and the house of Ishbosheth. So we have a split begins between the house, which reminds us we're in perek Beis, and the split between the house of David and the house of Ishbosheth reminds us how Ishbosheth, who was the son of King Shaul, set up a kingship against King David, and they have a battle at a battle in the pool of Givon. Now, perek gimel, in which we use a camel. The strong kingly camel is able to overpower the weaker camel. So we have the strong kingly camel. This reminds us we're in perek gimel. Gimel, gamal, camel. And he overpowers the weaker camel because we see, based on the battle in Givon, just as descriptions in the pasuk, David's men are becoming stronger, and we also have Avner begin to leave Ishbosheth, who accused him of doing bad things. Now, perek daled, in which we use a door. Ishbosheth is impaled by a sharp door. So the sharp door, that reminds us we're in perek daled, and Ishbosheth is impaled by it because once Avner left him and came to David and was killed, Ishbosheth is left in a way defenseless, and people come and kill him and take his head, give it to David, thinking that they'd win honor. But David, for this terrible act, decides to kill them. We are now going to do a 10-question pop quiz. In which perek does Shaul consult the witch of Endor before his final battle? Perek Chavchet. In which perek does David capture the fortress of Zion and names it Ir David? Perek Hey. In which perek does David defeat Goliath with a sling and a stone? Perek Yud Zayin. In which perek does Yoav secretly assassinate Avner at the gates of Hebron? Shmuel Bet, perek Gimel. In which perek does David wait for the rustling in the mulberry trees before attacking? Perek Hey. In which perek does Shmuel anoint Shaul as the first king of Israel? Perek Yud of Shmuel Aleph. In which perek does a messenger bring the news of Shaul's death to David in Siklag? Shmuel Bet, perek Aleph. In which perek does David spare Shaul's life in the cave of Ein Gedi? Shmuel Aleph, perek Chav Daled. In which perek does Avner anoint Ishbosheth over all of Israel, leading to a split? Perek Beis. Now, Shoftim bonus question: in which perek does Shimshon push the pillars onto the Plishtim temple? Push the pillars down of the Plishtim temple? Perek Tet Zion. That is it for today. May we be zochet to finish all of Nach, one perek at a time, and remember it day after day. Have a wonderful day.